San Marcos Adventure. KTBC is proud to salute and help retell the 20-day story of San Marcos citizens Big Willie George and Frank Brown as they give a personal account of their recent trip into a little-known part of Texas. Here to introduce our guests is KTBC reporter Ed Lionel.
Amidst the verdant and natural splendor of San Marcos's Aquarina, we are here today to unravel a tale which began at this almost exact spot and ended up 475 miles away at Corpus Christi. Now that may seem a little bit strange since Corpus Christi is only about 150 miles away, but we're going to ask a couple of gentlemen in a few minutes and they'll make it completely clear that it's 475 miles from here to just about downtown Corpus Christi. This trip began on June the 23rd in this small boat which is called the San Marcos ship Aquarina, the SMS Aquarina, began here and went down the San Marcos River through the Guadalupe River into the Intercoastal Canal on the coast and all the way to Corpus Christi. Now, these two gentlemen are Frank Brown, who is San Marcos Chamber of Commerce manager, and Big Willie George, who owns Big Willie's restaurant here in San Marcos. And we've asked Big Willie and Frank to tell us about where about the halfway point was in their trip. And Big Willie is going to take us from here, the Aquarina, their preparations, and the actual takeoff, all the way to about Cuero, and then Frank Brown will take over there and take us all the way to the coast and to Corpus Christi. Big Willie, would you like to begin?
Well, I'd like to say that, just generally speaking, that this was a tremendous trip. And Frank and I probably came as near to nature as any modern men do in this little 14-foot Lone Star Big Fisherman over here, which we selected for this particular trip. It's possibly a little heavier than we could have experienced or used on the river, but it was the ideal boat for us in that, as Frank will explain to you when we reach the ocean, the Gulf, why it was ideal there as well as up here, and it did all the job very well for us. And it would take considerably more time to explain this whole trip to you than we have here. We'll try to touch on some of the highlights of it for you and try to bring to you some of the experiences we had, and also the tremendous experiences that other individuals can have by just taking a segment of this trip for a weekend or something like that. The trip as a whole, as for doing it just for the fun of it again, I doubt that I would do it. But I do intend to take some weekends or a couple of days at a time and go down and fish some of the territory that we traveled over. Well, as you said before, we started right here at the Aquarina Springs in our little San Marcos ship Aquarina here. And we hadn't gone but a few hundred yards down here till we hit our first real mean obstacle, which is the big boulders and concrete blocks and so forth that the dam here at the lake is built out of, and which saw Frank, I think, take at least one spill going off of it before we got off of it. And then we worked our way on out of the city limits, and I might say that we started this thing kind of slowly because even though I think I get into the outdoors a little more than Frank does, he has been pretty much a desk man for a good many years, and but even the fact that I get out doesn't qualify me for a trip like this without some conditioning as we got started. And about the first week or so that we worked out of here, we timed ourselves. We tried not to break our backs the first few days because we knew that we had a long row ahead of us, and without some proper conditioning and working into it properly, we knew we'd never get there. And this was impressed upon us more and more as we started out of here by the obstacles that we ran into. In fact, it almost got embarrassing as we started out. 3 or 4 days after we left, we were barely out of the city limits down here. I mean, they could drive to us with an automobile in a matter of minutes. And people that weren't actually making the trip probably really don't understand what we're running into, but we ran into log jams and low water bridges and dams of varying sizes and heights, and each one of these had to be engineered individually, especially the log jams. you run into these things, and some of them are not very big. I mean, you can, two men, one to get on each side of the boat, and you can just lift them right on over. And the bridges are pretty tough because you really have to do some climbing to get over those. And then there's some of the bigger log jams. We had an axe, and we chop a hole through the limbs in them, and in some cases there'd be big trees laying down in the water off of the banks, and in those cases we could clear ways under them, and others were real huge things, and we just have to climb right on over the top of those. And the water hyacinths and so forth make them real tough. They pile up behind them, and you can't walk on this stuff, and yet you can't row a boat through it or paddle it through it. You just have to get out on the bank or anywhere that you can get some footing and take a rope and just flat drag it through it with one man working the nose of the boat while the other one hauls away on the thing. And of course, so much for the traveling part of it. I'd like to comment on the fishing end of this thing, which is quite interesting to a lot of people. I mean, there's some tremendous fishing down this river. It's almost beyond your wildest expectations. There are sections of this river down here, due to these log jams and so forth, that I've been commenting on, that rarely anybody ever gets on. You don't even see any sign that anybody's been there. And we travel for almost a day at a time sometime without seeing a human. And it's, like I said a while ago, you get pretty close to nature down in there. It's very, very little disturbance as far as human beings go. And the fishing, as long as the water was clear, was tremendous. And we were prepared to do night fishing to catch the fish and so forth that we needed. But as it turned out, one of our local companies, the NEMSCO company, AV NEMSCO company, gave us some plugs. And me liking to fish with plugs, that fell into my realm of obtaining food, because as long as the water was clear, you could just catch all the bass that you knew what to do with. I mean, we started out a couple of times. We'd start fishing these holes along, and it turned out that in a few minutes, usually I'd catch more fish than we could eat. So rather than try to fish all the good holes that we came up on, why, we just stopped and fish as was necessary to eat. And of course, I mean, the squirrels were plentiful along. But we started out mainly on the fish angle of it. And we saw numerous big catfish roll that they go 15 or 20 pounds, I'm quite sure. And naturally, I imagine there's a lot of them that we didn't see. I mean, they were considerably larger than that. They were quite plentiful, and we saw at least one big-mouthed black bass that I think a conservative guess would have been that he weighed 10 pounds. And that's not too far down the river from here. And
Big Willie, yes, sir. How many days did it take you to get to Cuero?
To Cuero, I don't remember exactly how long it took us to get to Cuero.
Well, at this point, why don't we turn it over to Frank and let him take us from Cuero
Okay,
to the coast? And ladies and gentlemen, Frank Brown of the Chamber of Commerce here in San Marcos.
Thank you, Ed. The trip from Cuero on down, quite different from the San Marcos. It's a beautiful, clear stream, and virtually a lost river, as Big Willie described it. When we hit the waters of the Guadalupe, we encountered a different type river. It was stronger. The currents were quite a bit more vicious. We had several large dams to go over. We went over them by way of ropes over the dams, lowering the boat down behind the ropes with the gear being lowered separately. And for the most part, from Cuero on, it was squirrel and small game. We caught a few fish, catfish, on throw lines at night, and ate squirrel until when we started to take aim, we would begin to hope that we'd miss. We varied it with what we could. We tried to eat things that ordinarily we wouldn't. For instance, there's a species of crane that I'm told it's very good meat. Now, one of these cranes are protected by law, so I'm not saying that we ate one of them. However, I've heard that there is a small species of crane that has very, very good dark meat with a full breast, and I'm told that they're extremely good eating. And we did have a soft-shelled turtle, too, which was good eating. Everything tasted more or less alike because we used the same lard all the time. And when you fry things in the grease for 2 weeks at a time, you could probably have fried a pheasant in there and not have it tasted a whole lot like fish. But we went on from Cuero into Victoria with this Guadalupe, and the further down we got, of course, the stronger it became, deeper and wider, and we were really in the bottom country. I think we saw bobcat tracks, if not bobcat, some type of animal. We've discussed it at length. It was some large animal that approached camp one night that was below Cuero. We shot rapids. We led the boat through others that were too dangerous to shoot, and we shot at the gars and the snakes and so forth on to the canal on the coast. When we got to the end of the river, there's a tremendous log jam below Tivoli. It is approximately 2 miles long, and you can't go over it. We pulled the boat across the peninsula into Haynes Bay, which is the lower end of San Antonio Bay, proceeded there up to the canal, intercoastal canal, on across to Aransas Pass, or Aransas Bay, and at Ostwell there, when we first hit saltwater, we put up our sail, rigged our little sail, which you see on the boat or saw on the boat a moment ago. And in Aransas Bay, we were blown off course down toward the causeway, behind which was Copano Bay, and a lot of trouble for us. But as we were being blown down toward the causeway, we wised up, tied the sail down, tied the rudder in a neutral position, and we paddled, and with a combination of paddling and sailing, were able to regain the canal and go on up almost to Aransas Pass that Thursday night, which was been Friday the 12th. At that time, we lost everyone. They thought we couldn't possibly have gotten that far, and they started to search for us. We hit Corpus Bay Friday about noon, and that was a ride to end all rides. Waves 8 or 10 feet high. We went on across it in about 2 hours, had a wonderful reception at Corpus Christi, and Ed, that's a quick summation of it, and here you go, back to you. Thanks a lot for letting us be with you.
Well, it was our pleasure, Frank and Big Willie. We still have a little bit of time left. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about the Corpus Christi reception, briefly?
Well, I'd be happy to. Bob Conwell, who is executive director of the Corpus Christi Area Convention and Tourist Bureau, arranged it and handled publicity from that end. They had the mayor pro tem there, chamber officials, and 80 or 90 people. I don't know who all of them were, all of the media. They gave us gold keys to the city. They took us up to the Driscoll hotels in our wet bathing suits and our bare feet and our beards, which were an inch long, it seemed. And we paraded through the lobby, and it was a real white Cadillac, red carpet reception.
I understand. Big Willie, how did you feel when you got to Corpus?
Well, I was real glad to be there. I've been looking forward to it for several days.
Gentlemen, I certainly do want to thank you. We're out of time, and it seems like it goes so fast, and we want to thank you for coming down here to the Aquarina with your boat and telling us the story of exactly how it happened. 20 days and 8 hours, right? And it ended on Friday the 13th of July. This is Ed Lionel at the Aquarina in San Marcos.
San Marcos Adventure, the story of 2 men and a boat, featured San Marcos businessmen Frank Brown and Big Willie George. Your host was Ed Lionel. San Marcos Adventure was filmed by Joe Lee and Bobby Sewell and was a KTBC TV sports feature.